Yes, I have indeed decided to cram as much as possible into this one video. You know, it's like a leftover dinner. You just open your fridge and you throw everything in. I blabbered a bit too much in the beginning, so feel free to skip to the part that interests you the most. I'll put up some time codes. So, yep, let's get started. Welcome, I'm Kat, and yes, I have been slacking off with this channel. Okay, but hear me out. I'm lazy. Yeah, that's it. Actually been sick for a bit, for like a week and something. So yeah, here I am in the middle of July. Actually, I wrote the script when it was the middle of July, and I'm recording it when it's nearing the end of July. So it feels a bit silly to do a July TBR list because, well, July is almost over. Well, not almost, but it's closer to being over than not. And I considered making just like a little short TBR list, but then what am I gonna do, a 2-minute video? So I decided that the best approach would be to just smoosh the TBRs lists together to have a July and August TBR list, and then add a couple of extra books. And the same with the June wrap-up. I didn't really have much to say, so I kind of just slapped it to the end of this video. So let's just start with the books I want to read in what's left of July and in August. I decided to try and read 6 books, which is 2 more than in June. And yes, it sounds like a big goal for me, but it's a month and a half, so I hope it goes well. We'll see. It didn't go so well in June, by the way. Spoiler alert, I actually didn't finish my TBR list. Never mind. First of all, I visited a bookstore. First time in months. It was very exciting. I picked up 2 books, and only 2. I restrained myself because that bookstore is a bit expensive, despite being secondhand. Well, to be honest, their books are really good quality, so completely understandable, but I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on books that I'm gonna get rid of when I'm done with them anyways, because I'm trying not to hoard books. You know, just being responsible. Responsible and me are not 2 words that should be used in the same sentence. Anyway, the first book I got is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin. It's a sci-fi about someone who's studying people of this frozen planet called Guthan. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Who are most of the time androgynous. They're not male or female, and then they can become one of the other when they need to reproduce. And there's like a whole bunch of politicking, I think. I'm not really sure. That's what I understood from the back of the book. The premise sounded really interesting, and I also really liked another book I've read this year by Ursula Le Guin, The Lathe of Heaven. I've mentioned it in my 10 books in 10 days video, and I really liked that book, and I really liked Ursula Le Guin's style of writing. So when I saw another book by her, I decided to pick it up and add it to my TBR list. The second book I got is Spiderlite by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And yes, it is the same Adrian Tchaikovsky who wrote Children of Time, which I love with all my heart. And it looks like the guy has something with spiders because it's called Spiderlite and it has like cool looking spider on the cover and there's mentions of Spider Queen. And honestly, I am here for it. I will read everything that guy comes up. I am really supportive of his spider obsession because spiders are adorable, okay? Spiders are cool. From what I understand, it's a bit of a twist on the classic fantasy genre. It's not a sci-fi, it's a fantasy about a team of people trying to take on like a dark overlord or something. And it starts pretty cliche, but I assume there's gonna be some twist. I'm really looking forward to reading it. The third book I want to read is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. It's a sci-fi. I think it's a novella, like it's a short book. I got it not on a Kindle, like on my iPad. I did see it recommended on like other sci-fi oriented booktube channels. The premise, I don't want to just read it out. It sounds a bit confusing, but I assume that once I start reading, I understand a bit more. From what I picked up on, it has like a grumpy droid as the main character, which honestly sounds amazing. Just for that, I'm prepared to read it and like it, but we'll see. Book number 4 that I want to read is Feeling Good by David Burns. I've actually already started reading this book. I tried reading it a while ago. I got until halfway point and then I stopped. So this is a bit of a different book. I guess you could call it a self-help book. I guess it is a self-help book. Why would you? Okay, never mind. It is a self-help book. It basically describes the foundation of what CBT therapy is. CBT stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, by the way. It gives you the tools to practice a version of CBT therapy on your own to help with, moods, depression, just bad thoughts in general. It's a pretty thick book and it comes with homework. It has different exercises that you need to do. And basically the whole idea behind this book and this type of therapy is that your thoughts influence your feelings. Your feelings are not just come out of nowhere and like a wave of emotion that sweeps you off and controls you. Every emotion has a specific thought at its core, and a lot of the times you don't notice that that's what you're thinking. But if you can notice and control those automatic thoughts or replace them by more positive thoughts or more helpful thoughts, you can actually influence the way you're feeling. So yeah, I do want to finish reading it. It's less of a just sit down and read type of book, because it does give you exercises that you need to do, and every chapter kind of addresses a specific section of areas of your life that you might have problem with. For example, how to approach conflicts, how to approach your working environment, how to approach your relationships with other people. So basically the whole point of this book is to help you to feel better and train yourself to not ignore but talk back to your inner negative voice. And I could really use, oh god, that was my neck. And I could really use some of that. So yeah, I'm gonna finish that book and I'm gonna try and actually do the exercises. Book number 5 that I want to read is Rosetta Codex by Richard Paul Rousseau. This is a sci-fi that I know absolutely nothing about. I just randomly picked it up at a book. Shut up, bird! Picked it up at a book swap shelf, which is always a gamble. From what I gathered, it's more like fantasy than science, with space as a backdrop. But we'll see. I reserve the right to DNF this one though, just because it's a bit of a unknown. And the last book I want to try and finish before the end of August is the Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, which I started reading it, but I didn't finish. I got about 50 pages in, and then I had to stop because I started feeling sick at that point. Not from the book. I just caught a bit of a cold, and just feeling physically unwell and reading this book did not go together well. So I just had to stop, unfortunately. I will try and finish this book. So that's it. That's my TBR. Now let's move on to the June wrap-up. Here's part 2 of this bullshit. So, I had 4 books on my list for June. I did manage to read 3 of them, so I guess it's not too bad. I say it's not too bad, but it was only 4 books, Kat. It's not that difficult. Okay, never mind. So first of all, I read Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. I quite enjoyed it. Had some criticisms, but it was an enjoyable read. I reviewed it on my channel. You can go and watch it if you're interested. Next, I read Children of Ruin by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It's the sequel to Children of Time that I absolutely adored, and I loved the sequel. I am working on a review video. It's taking me a bit of time. I've recorded it actually, but I'm not sure I'm happy with the recording, so I'm just sitting on it for a bit until I decide if I like it or not. But review is coming, so I'm not gonna elaborate too much. And finally, the last book I read is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This was a bit of I can't fucking talk today. What is happening? That's one of the books I grabbed from a book swap shelf. And unfortunately, this book was a bit of a meh for me. It took me ages to get into it. I found it a bit boring overall, and I guess reading it straight after Children of Ruin just did not help. Some of the ideas in it were interesting, but it's just a very much star-crossed romance with like a fantasy coat of paint. Which is fine, and I have nothing against that concept, but that's just not what I wanted at that time when I started reading it. It was very insta-lovey, there's like some stalkery elements in there, which I did not appreciate. Characters were, to me, a bit bland, and maybe because it's the first book in a series, it felt like nothing kind of happened. Oh, and also it had this thing, like the author uses words from a language that the author doesn't speak, and the author uses the words incorrectly, and I know that language, and I'm like, this is not the meaning of the word. This word doesn't mean what you say it means. And it's my pet peeve, and I hate it when that happens in books. This book did that, and it annoyed me, but I think at this point I was just not into it, so I was kind of looking for stuff to nitpick. So yeah, I'm not gonna do a proper review on this book. I don't hate it, but I feel like because I was so not into it, I will find a lot of things to nitpick about it, and if I review it, I'll just end up ranting about it, and it's really not a bad book. I don't think it deserves a full-on rant. If you love this book, it's perfectly understandable, but it's just not for me, unfortunately. Not gonna continue the series, not gonna review it. You can consider this as my review for this book, but that is it. So yeah, that's all the books I read in June. And I think I'll stop ranting right now because I have nothing else to say. Who am I kidding? I always have something to say because I'm just a blabbermouth. Never mind. Let's just stop here. Thank you so much for watching. Please like if you like this video. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see what else I'm gonna do on this channel. Go and watch some of my other videos. And that is it. Goodbye.